Hello, everyone. It is my privilege to introduce T.N. Hari, HR head at BigBasket and strategic advisor at Fundamental. Uh, Hari has been quite a mentor to many startups and many entrepreneurs over the course of his working career. And we felt it would be wonderful to get from him his insights, his thoughts on what are the opportunities in the current COVID era. What are the challenges and opportunities as well? Thank you very much, Hari, for joining us here, and thank you and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Shantanu. It's a pleasure doing this with you.
Thank you so much. As at Game, given this distressing situation of the coronavirus and COVID, we've been trying to put together voices of various experts and influencers and thinkers about what could be the opportunities in the future, um, what could be the challenges in the COVID era as well, and what are the tips we can give some of the entrepreneurs, mass entrepreneurs in this time and age. So that's the purpose of this webinar. I will go to the questions that I have in mind and I request you to respond back to that. Yeah. So the first question, Hari, is that the COVID crisis will change the future of work is quite a cliche now. We all know it will. Specifically, the question that I had was how, given in your vantage point and the way you see it as a professional in the space, what specifically will it change and in the future of work, and how does that affect sort of the buying behavior of corporates and businesses, etc. And what then are the opportunities in the non-tech entrepreneurship space? Okay.
So, Shantanu, I think the way I would see this is that we are going through a unique event in the history of mankind. And I think there is a lot already said about the future of work and how this is going to change that. What I will do is I will think aloud on this, because this is not a topic on which I can say, claim that I completely understand. I think there are multiple points of view. Nobody fully understands how this crisis is even going to unfold and how it's likely to end. I think even the experts, don't have complete agreement on what's going to happen in the way forward. So it would be pretty much arrogant on my part to be able to say that I completely understand this and try and say that the future of work will be so and so. So what I'll do is let me just step back in history a little bit. So if you just look at some of the technological innovations, I think technology has been the biggest job creation engine in the history of mankind. Let's just take a few innovations. So the steam engine, for example, right? Once the steam engine came in, what happened was that it created railways across the world. People began traveling further and further from their places of upbringing. They took up jobs which were far away from the places where they grew up. So it was not uncommon for example, a person who grew up in Meerut to be working in Bangalore. And before the railways, this would just have not been possible. So all employment was local. So I think what railways did was that it made the whole world a global village. I'm including, the jet engine and the airplanes along with the railways. I think what innovations in transportation did was that it made the world a global village. So people went away, to different parts of the world and began working with different societies and different cultures. And I think that was a very fundamental change in the way work was performed. If you just look at, for example, automation, if you look at, for example, you had handloom weavers in the past, who created clothing. But then there was this innovation called the spinning jenny, which was a power loom. So what power looms did was that it displaced these handloom weavers, but it also brought down the cost of clothing to such an extent that everybody in the world could get clothed. Even the poorest could get clothing. So I think what that did was that over a period of time, it displaced all the people who were weaving with their hands. Now, the interesting thing is that all this change took some time, which is that the process of moving away from handloom weaving to power looms took time, as a result of which there was time for these displaced workers to find alternate employment. So, for example, many of them took up jobs in factories that were, producing cloth at cheaper rates. Now, what I see happening is that this crisis has brought about a change which is rapid. Let's take this example, right? So all of us suddenly don't want to be associated with people that we don't know well. So what has happened in a country like India is that all work has been categorized into two broad groups: the high-end work, the white-collar kind of work, and the blue-collar kind of work. So all of us, people like you and me, educated folks, love the high-collar work. We are doing all that, the cool stuff. But for doing the utensils at home, for doing the cooking and cleaning, we have a maid and other help who are coming in. Now, suddenly we don't have that help available to us, or we don't want that help to turn up at our place. So what's happening? We are doing the cooking, cleaning ourselves, everything. So our efficiencies have reduced because it's being done by people who should have been doing more other high-end work.
Good point.
So the nature of work, if you see, I don't know how long this COVID crisis is going to last. Maybe after 6 months, we will again be open to helps coming back home and helping us. But if that does not happen, if this is irreversible, at least for 2, 3 years, then what is going to result is the work profile for all of us is going to change. Cooking, cleaning, washing is going to be an integral part of what we do every day, as much as working on Excel sheets and making strategy presentations. Cooking and cleaning will be part of our work every day. So I think I see that happening. But the question what bothers me is that what happens to the livelihoods of these individuals, the maids who are suddenly displaced? There are a lot of innovations going to happen. But for example, to help us cook and clean, maybe there will be somebody who comes up with some machine which will do all the sweeping and swabbing, which is you can have a robot which comes and does that. You have to place it in the room, it goes all over, detects obstructions, cleans up the place. Now there will be factories to produce these robots, but all of this is going to take some time. Realignment of investments, realignment of priorities will take time. So in the meanwhile, what happens to people like our maids, people, the blue collar staff who are the people who are serving in restaurants, because restaurants are going to shut, and malls are going to be shut for a very long time. Any business that depended upon a bunch of people assembling under one roof, those businesses are going to be badly hit. So what happens to their livelihoods? That's not very clear to me. I think it's important for me to say I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to their livelihoods and how things are going to evolve as this COVID crisis itself unfolds. That's not fully clear to me. And the other big thing is that, like any crisis, this is going to result in a reduction in overall consumption, which is that all of us are sitting at home. We are not going to buy cars because we don't need cars. We are not going to travel a lot. So there won't be, airline companies will be in trouble. The railways will be in trouble. The oil producing companies which provide gasoline to the airlines and railways, they will be in trouble. So all of them are going to lay off people. So overall, the demand and consumption is going to come down in a very big way. So I don't know this consumption in demand, how long reduction, how long it's going to last. Maybe it will pick up in 6 months, maybe it won't pick up for 12 to 18 months. My own sense is that till a good chunk of the population is immunized, and that immunity can be through a vaccine or it could be by getting infected. Literally getting infected, you can get immunity. So unless the majority of the population in the world is immunized either through, what do you call that, vaccines or by getting infected, I don't think the economy is going to get unlocked so easily. Even if it gets unlocked, it will be unlocked very partially. So frankly, I really don't have an idea in terms of what it's going to result in. All that is clear is consumption is going to drop. People are going to lose jobs. A good number of industries are going to be very, very badly hurt. And you and me, our work profiles are going to change. We work from home. Utensils will be part of our daily life.
That's a wonderful summary, Hari, actually. A wonderful summary. Thank you so much. I think that lays the context very well. And I'd like to ask for a silver lining later, but I will do that later. I think it's a good summary. Let me just go on to the next question.
Yeah.
Again, what are the skill sets you feel for entrepreneurs that they should nurture in themselves and employees? I understand things are going to change from the demand side as well. And of course, that's one skill set that they need to understand demand, change, etc. But maybe a bit more, you can add, of course, a bit more weightage and flavor on that one. What are the skill sets you think one should be looking for entrepreneurs to build in themselves and their employees?
Frankly, I think you have the usual suspects. We are living in times of change. In times of change, I think people need to adapt. So ability to learn, I think, is a very critical skill. So that will trump everything else. I also believe that, this is a situation where you need to think very clearly and act very decisively. This applies more for leaders than, individual contributors. Being able to think very clearly in times of change is essential, and being very decisive, because you can get frozen like a deer in front of the headlights. There are so many variables, you really don't know what's going to happen. So I think being able to act very decisively in these times is very critical. So being able to learn continuously, being able to adapt to changing circumstances, uh, not getting stuck in the skills that you had mastered in the past, being able to master new skills, I think that is going to be very critical.
Absolutely, yeah, great. I mean, it ties into the other question as well, which is what kind of entrepreneurs will survive in this time of low demand, liquidity
Yeah.
crunch, etc.
So I think very clearly a certain category of entrepreneurs are going to do well here. So this is a situation where capital is not going to be available in abundance. If capital is not available in abundance, you have to ensure that your business, generates cash. There should not be a lot of burn. You should be very frugal. So in the past, about last 5 6 years, what had happened was that capital became available in abundance, as a result of which it disguised a poor product market fit. I think abundant capital forces you to do a lot of wrong things. It forces you to develop bad habits. You will go and hire expensive people even if you don't need them. You will build cost structures that are not sustainable because you just have capital. You believe customers love your product even though they may not love and pay for it because you have capital. So I think once capital is not abundantly available, there will be a sense of urgency in figuring out whether the product or service that you're providing is something that the customers really care for and will pay for. I think that's very important. Being frugal, I think, is very important, because nobody is going to provide you any funds if you're an entrepreneur till the end of this calendar year. Nobody is going to even entertain a discussion. So you need to be able to stretch that runway. So if you have, funds in the bank for a runway of 12 months, now that the revenues are just coming off, this 12 months is going to shrink to maybe 3 months. So it's important for you to be able to take a look at, what is my runway going to look like based on the fact that I have lower revenues, but my costs are the same. How should I manage my costs? How can I be frugal? Can I sell more without hiring a bunch of expensive sales folks? Can me as a founder go and sell better, and in the process learn how to sell, learn what customers care about, use this opportunity to develop my own selling skills instead of hiring people, expensive people with sales skills. So I think this is going to benefit entrepreneurs who are thinking about first principles, think based on first principles. They are people who are keen to build a sound business. They care about product market fit, very frugal in their outlook, and wanting to build a real sound long-term business. I think these are the entrepreneurs who will survive and do well in a crisis like this.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. The next question is about, okay, maybe we shift the lens a bit.
Yeah,
We look at the hinterland of India. We look at tier two, tier three cities. In urban places where we are, I think there is going to be demand compression for sure, but it's still reasonably high demand. It's going to be even worse in rural India.
yeah,
Uh, any advice for any entrepreneurs? When I say entrepreneurs, I also mean micro entrepreneurs, vyaparis,
yeah.
people who are just doing any small business, running kirana stores, etc. What would be your advice to them? Would it be the same, or do they have any opportunities that you think people like us will look at them too?
My own belief is that all kinds of entrepreneurship, can do with technology. I think that's a common layer that every entrepreneur, whether they like it or not, whether they're tech entrepreneurs or non-tech entrepreneurs, I think
Okay.
need to learn the power of technology. So take BigBasket, right? It is not a tech-first company at all. BigBasket is a retail company which just happens to use technology. The entrepreneurs don't come from a technology background. They don't have a deep understanding of technology. But the entrepreneurs have hired a bunch of tech folks who can then enable this business, an online retail business. So I think technology is a very important layer that every entrepreneur needs to understand. Now, coming to the specific question of non-tech entrepreneurs, especially in India's hinterland, the micro entrepreneurs, the smaller entrepreneurs, I think my own sense is that I don't really understand this well, but my own sense is that they have to plug into global supply chains. I think global supply chains are evolving in a very big way. So take, for example, Amazon. Amazon is a massive global supply chain, right? So in India, for example, they are able to provide you a book from a warehouse in Chandigarh to a customer sitting in Bangalore. They'll get you the book from the warehouse in Chandigarh. So it's all a global supply chain. And sitting in Indore, you can order some stuff, a tennis racket, which is not manufactured at Indore, maybe from a Bangalore warehouse, it's brought to Indore, or in a much smaller city than Indore as well. So you have opportunities for those micro entrepreneurs in those small towns to plug into the Amazon supply chain, the BigBasket supply chain, or even the agriculture supply chain. So, for example, India is a big exporter of a lot of crops. We are an importer as well. So there is this huge supply chain. I think entrepreneurs, even in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, have to align themselves to some of these continuously evolving global supply chains and make themselves useful. So I think while these global supply chain companies will go and look for these micro entrepreneurs, the micro entrepreneurs have to also figure out what is it that they need to do to make themselves valuable. What technology can they provide? How can they adapt and work with some of these bigger companies? I think that's very crucial for
So
these.
that's a very good that's good advice on both points, technology and global supply chains. I think
Yeah.
I think that's really valuable. Finally, Hari, what what new businesses do you see uh, for which the time has come? Businesses and
That's
business opportunities.
interesting. So, for example, all of us are locked down at home. I think it's going to be a very long time before we visit, a movie hall or a multiplex, for entertainment. I don't think we'll step into a mall even if the lockdown is lifted for the next 6 months. So, I think home entertainment and innovative home entertainment, gaming will become very, very exciting for entrepreneurs. So I think hospitals, I don't think any of us are easily going to step into hospitals. So smart hospitals, online service, online consultations, self-diagnostic, apps and tools and devices. I think there will be an opportunity for, entrepreneurs in these areas. So online learning, for example, virtual learning is going to become very, very important. And I think companies will have to make some breakthroughs. I think online learning has been reasonably effective, but to take it to the next level, to simulate a classroom, to make it as powerful as a classroom, some more innovation is required. So I think online learning will become very important. I don't think we'll visit gyms for a long time. So online, for example, fitness. How can you help people be fit through online tools? So online cooking classes. So I think a lot of digital, a lot of online stuff is going to become critical. Robots, for example, you and I are doing a lot of stuff, utensils, sweeping, swabbing. So if there can be some robots that can do some of this, dishwashing machines, electrical appliances that can take away, till now we relied on, a human labor taking away this from us. But if this human labor itself is not available, accessible, or we don't want to interact, then you will need machinery to do that once again. So you need to again innovate on some of this. So I think time has come, maybe as if this crisis is something that is going to last for many years to come, then I think innovation in all of these areas is certainly very much possible.
Yeah, I mean, I can also think of some ways to organize the labor differently,
Yeah.
as in training on safety, training on hygiene. Not everything can, of course, be digitized and digital and
Yeah.
automated in the next 2 years. There's still a lot of stuff that we use, but maybe there's some discrete small opportunities in helping a lot of labor in the country
I totally
actually
agree.
actually
Yeah.
become not just blue collar, but go up a level where they can be sort of trained and become a bit more
Yeah.
professional, a bit more from our perspective, a bit
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
sort of healthy, safe, hygiene, etc. Because we will need people at some
I
point in time.
totally agree with you, Ashanto. It's a brilliant point, actually. I think today, at this point of time, I think the social contract, employment contract, is between the individual blue collar worker and a company. Company is big basket. I think some of that will get changed over a period of time. I think you will have to have somebody who's organizing the blue collar workforce, providing guarantee to a company like Big Basket or a Flipkart or wherever they work, that these are a bunch of people who are committed to hygiene. They have been trained. So that workforce is going to become better organized. I think potentially that opportunity exists as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is a wonderful, quick webinar. Thank you so much for your time, Hari.
Thank you,
And
Shantanu.
we hope to be in touch more often.
Thanks.
Thank you.